and welcome to the Mindful Evolution Podcast. I'm Leah Drew, your host and mind-body healing guide. This podcast is for the awareness seeker ready to go deeper, create change, and feel more empowered over their physical, mental, and emotional well-being. My intention is to be a catalyst for you as we explore topics surrounding holistic health, mindset optimization, trauma healing, emotional intelligence, and much more. I'm so grateful to have you here and to support you as we evolve in mind, body, and spirit. Let's breathe in and out. Now, let's dive in. Hello, and welcome back to the Mindful Evolution Podcast. Today I'm here with one of my dear sisters and beautiful best friends, Lilly Terry. Lilly, I'm so stoked to have you here today as we dive into our Arkadia experience.
I'm very excited for this conversation. It's been a long time coming, and
2 weeks coming. Feels
what
like forever.
It
doesn't exist.
It's been at least 2 years, it feels like. But yeah, so much to talk about. I'm so excited to be here.
And Lilly is also a fellow healing guide. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Lilly. I am the title, holistic health coach for now, but really a mind-body healing guide as well in many ways, and really just fascinated with the subconscious mind. A lot of reprogramming work, very similar to what Leah does. A lot of just helping women come back to themselves and figuring out, what the blocks are that are keeping them from their fullest expression and optimal health. And so, I've got a podcast as well called Home to Self, and we'll be featuring this episode on both. So excited to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. Yeah, we do so many similar things, and since the moment that for you and I connected through your husband, Austin. And since the moment that Austin and I met, he was like, you have to know Lilly. You need to know Lilly. It was like you and I needed to be best friends. Yeah. He was just the one that needed to sit catalyzed in the background and watch it happen. And I'll never forget his face at unison when it actually happened. And he just sat there and watched and was like, I did that.
Yeah, we were dancing together, just connecting deeply. We looked over and Austin was just looking at us, smiling, and we were like, yeah, he's probably over there I did that. I'm like, yeah, he tends to do that. He's the extrovert in the relationship, so I kind of send him out to go explore, and then he brings back the people that are meant to be in my life. So I always trust that. And Sammy was just you gotta meet Leah, you guys are totally in it off, you got the same work, the same passions and everything. And I was just it's gonna happen, just allow it to happen.
It took until unison to happen, but it happened. And Austin and I met way earlier on in the year. I think May.
It was at
Daybreakers, where him and I connected, which was a morning dance party. And it was the beginning of 2023, sometime after I'd moved to Colorado, and I was just really struggling without community at the time, and just felt like I didn't have anyone, felt like I didn't have people that, at least my people, that heart-centered community that could hold me. And I remember waking up one day and being I need to go dance. I just need to move my body. And Daybreaker was happening. And I was I'm just going to go alone. And so I went alone to Red Rocks. And I ended up connecting with Austin towards the end. Him and I looked at each other from across Red Rocks. And it was just almost I know you, but I don't know you. And I need to know you. Yeah. And we both just ended up gravitating towards each other and being hi, I'm Leah. Hi, I'm Austin. and it was just meant to be. And
Divine intervention.
Yeah. And then it wasn't until a couple months later, after I went through my own dark night of the soul of 2023, just shedding all of the things that weren't meant for me. And last minute, Austin invited me to Unison. And
I'm so glad you said yes.
I'm so glad I said yes too. But I was sitting there and I was no, it's last minute. Do I really want to just up and go? And I sat with it. And meanwhile, this man sent me like a 3 or 4 paragraph long text as to why I should come and why he thinks I need to be there. Yeah. And I was like, no one's ever put in that amount of effort to invite me to something before. And so I did. Packed everything up in like a night. And I got in my car the next day and I drove the 8 hours down to Unison. Mm-hmm. And that was where I connected with you and I connected with the Tips and Toes community.
Tips and Toes. People are like, what the hell?
I know. You should tell people what Tips and Toes are.
Yeah. Wow, it's been such a journey. So this little community was formed pretty much last year at Unison, I think, is when we all kind of came together. There was the festival Arkadia, which we're going to talk about in just a moment too, that happened in July of last year, where some of us connected, but not like as a whole group. It's kind of just like little individual connections. And then randomly at Unison, which was September, we all realized that we like camped next to people that eventually became family, really. So a bunch of us just came together, and as things unfold in festivals, there was just a random moment when we were all just dancing, and I don't even really remember how it came to be, but we were like tips, toes, kind of like putting our feet into the circle and dancing weird, and that became the name, the Tips and Toes family.
I actually didn't realize that was birthed at Unison.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I think we were all like in a little huddle together, just dancing on the dance floor and like putting our feet in. Yeah. And it was probably Kev or someone that just like started that little chant, and then it just stayed. And so now we have our little like, so one person goes tips and everyone goes toes. So hilarious because bystanders are just like, what?
And we run deep. There's like the foundation of our community. There's like what, 10 to 12 to 15 of us that are like always together.
Yeah.
And then we have like 12 to 15 more that are scattered around the states. Some are in Salt Lake. Nick's in Maine right now, soon to be Colorado, I think.
Yeah, we had a group of like 30 at Unison this year, which is insane. Incredible. But it's so nice, like that feeling of community. And I think that this is something we should definitely dive into a little bit more because, like you said, I mean, most people don't have community. We didn't either. When we first moved to Colorado, I mean, we moved here in May of 2020, like right at the start of the pandemic, and didn't know a single person here. Like, luckily I had Austin, but for a long time I was like, wow, are we ever gonna find like friends here? Are we gonna make friends here?
Where are our people?
And so it does take a little bit of time and like patience in doing your own inner work to attract people that are on the same path and share the same values. But it's such a journey worth taking, because I look back now and I look around and I'm like, wow, this is everything. You know, like having a group of people who you can share everything with and be fully authentic with and dance, and like the intimacy, like platonic, but just cuddling and like physical touch that we've lost touch of in this society that is so needed and so healing, of just like the endless hugs that we give each other. Our group is just like long hugs. Saying goodbye takes
forever.
Because everyone hugs for like a minute straight, and it's just the best feeling in the world. It's like, yeah, what? Why haven't we been doing this our whole lives, you know?
What's been really different for me in this crew and in the Tips and Toes dynamic, you know, coming out of California, I was introduced to this. I was introduced to these kinds of communities where people were very close and they hugged and they were intimate and they were very open with each other, vulnerable. But what's very different is that the majority of people that I connected with in California, they were very transient. And so they weren't just like in the same place all the time. They were all over the world all the time. And so there's a sense of disconnection that happens in that. And through the community that we have, you know, we're so close, not just like physically, but mentally, emotionally, like energetically. We are just so tethered. And it's allowed this really beautiful opportunity, I think, for every person independently to trust, to feel safe, to open, to soften, to feel more grounded, to just really go deeper into themselves and explore who they are and feel safe doing that. Yeah. And through that, and this is really what Arkadia highlights, but through really coming into yourself and feeling safe within yourself, really getting to step into service for the world around you. Mm-hmm. And I think that that is something that our community does so well, is just like really harnesses that mm-hmm. inner work mm-hmm. together and independently so that we can collectively support with shifting the world around us.
Yeah. Yeah, I think safety is a big pillar of all of this, kind of like a foundational layer, because it's like there's everyone in our group embodies unconditional love to the best of their ability, and you just anyone that comes in is like so openly welcomed and embraced and just seen and loved and given permission to be themselves, and there's no like judgment or drama or like talking behind people's backs. It's like it's such a safe container, and I think it's a reflection of, like you said, people doing their own inner work, you know, like that's like the result of individual people working on themselves, taking responsibility, taking ownership, working through their shadows, all these kinds of things. And then those kinds of people coming together is like, wow, this is what's possible, you know? And like, it's beautiful that we're both in the space of encouraging people and supporting people and guiding people to do that inner work.
Yeah.
And so hopefully this, you know, reflection of our community is just one little reward that you see, like, for doing this work, because it's possible for everyone to like make friends like this. But sometimes I do believe that there's a period of time where you kind of just are on your own when you first get into this work, and you're like, oh, because you're transitioning and there's so much going on within you, but eventually it does unfold and you meet people that are exactly on the path.
Yeah, and it doesn't just happen overnight, you know, and I know for me, I had to go through this period of eliminating all the things that didn't feel good, that mm-hmm. eliminating the relationships that were not serving me, eliminating the things that weren't in alignment for me. Yeah. And it left me in that space of the world is literally burning down within me and around me.
Yeah.
And I got to be with myself. Like you're saying, it's like, mm-hmm. okay, like without all these things that are actually a no for me, what's left? Mm-hmm. And with the things that are left within me, I was able to step into unison and discern, oh, this is a yes. These people are a yes. Like I, in my body, feel really good, mm-hmm. and I get to lean into that. Mm-hmm. You know, and these people get to support me in leaning in deeper. Mm-hmm. You know, but I know you probably see this a lot too, but when I'm working with clients, in order for them to step into the things that feel good and the things that they like, they have to gain clarity around the things that they don't and the things that don't feel good, and like really embody that no before they can really step into the yes.
Yeah. Because
otherwise you're just pulling in all the things, hoping that something's going to stick, right? It's like throwing all the spaghetti at the wall and hoping that something's going to stick. And you're not so much being intentional about what you're choosing to connect with. And everything that you connect with is in some way, shape, or form taking some of your energy. Even if you're giving that energy without the expectation of receiving, you're still giving out. Mm-hmm. And so being intentional about when you're starting to like restructure your world, your life, your friendships, the dynamics in your experience, being intentional about giving your energy to the places that are actually filling you back up and that are actually giving back to you, even though you're stepping in without the expectation that it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's been a huge lesson for me too, especially this summer. I used to, over the past few years, I was like struggling with my health, and my energy really suffered because of it, like just feeling really low energy, like I didn't have a lot to give, didn't have a lot of energy to socialize. And so I kind of held back from meeting new people and like putting myself out there a little bit more and whatnot, because I just would feel so drained after a lot of those experiences. And what I've realized now is that it wasn't so much the socialization part in general, it was the kinds of people I was connecting with. Because nowadays, like even if I'm a little bit tired, but if I go into a conversation like this, or I meet with a friend who inspires me, who motivates me, who I feel safe enough to be myself around, I walk out more energized. And yeah, like the ROI is worth it, you know?
The friendship ROI.
Yeah, literally. of energy, the energy investment. It's like, so I love that you said that. And yeah, it really takes also knowing how to say no and honoring yourself when you feel like it's not a heck yes, which has been hard for me. But I know you've had quite the journey with that. So if you want to share a little bit more about your experience, I feel like we'd all love to hear that.
Yeah. I think this whole year has really been a journey around really recognizing what that no is. Even if some parts of it were a yes, all of it wasn't a yes. And, you know, I left California knowing that California, some of it was yes, but it wasn't all a yes. And I came to Colorado with a short stop in Salt Lake City that did not keep me there.
You're meant to be here.
I was meant to be here. And when I got here, I knew that. But it still wasn't all a yes. And I just kept putting myself, and for anyone that is looking to find more of the community that they're seeking, you know, this is something that I invite you to do, is start to put yourself in more spaces that, regardless of who's there, is a yes for you. And so for me, that's dance. Like, regardless of who's there and who's around me, dance, sound circles and sound ceremonies, what else? The gym, movement spaces, yoga. I'm trying to think what else. I'd say those are like the primary ones that are like doesn't matter who's there for me, the experience is going to be a full fuck yes for me. And eventually, as you continue showing up for that, it connects you. It is a connector to the people that are going to be that full yes, that are going to lead you into the life of that full yes. But I had to say no to the things that were a partial yes in order for me to find the things that were that full yes. And, you know, a lot of that even came up for me at Arkadia, and we can kind of shift into speaking about Arkadia, because I know a lot of these really came in and were embodied at Arkadia itself. But you know what, and kind of just pulling the concept of community back in here, like, we really got to see at Arkadia, in my opinion, how everyone else around us actually felt our community. Because our energetics of our crew are just, they're so beautiful, they're so strong, they're so palpable, that people just wanted to be with us. People would just come on into our community and join our group hugs, or pop their head into our group photos, you know? And like, people would come over and they would meet us, that they'd hang around the outskirts of our crew, because when we travel as a whole pod. There's like 15 of us that just scoop from one space to another. You know, but really getting to see how that inner work in like ourselves individually, and then our inner work as a group dynamic, then influences that outer world, right? That world around us. But yeah, I know that like Arkadia was really where we had some of our really deep, like embodied, I almost want to use the word like proof, but like remembrance, right? Yeah. It's like the remembrance really came up for all of us over these last couple of weeks. And so Arkadia is a festival that's hosted by Aubrey Marcus and Fit for Service, that was hosted for the second time in Las Vegas. And it is a space that draws very conscious, connected people that are doing their deep inner work with the intention of creating a more beautiful world in the environment around them. And you were at the first Arkadia, which was last year, which I did not go to. I almost did, but it just wasn't time to meet you, obviously. Yeah. And then I'd love for you to share, before we kind of go deeper into Arkadia, like, why Las Vegas? Because I know that like that is the last place that someone expects like a very conscious event to be held.
Yeah, that came up a few times too with people who'd been there for the first time. They're like, well, why is this happening in Vegas? And it's a good question. It makes sense. So Aubrey Marcus's intention, he's the one that kind of runs the Fit for Service community too. And their intention with doing this festival was to do it in Wyoming, out in nature, camping, just very connected to the environment, and that whole vibe, similar to like our Unison Experience, which is also a festival that happens in Durango. I don't know if we even mentioned that. And they had everything ready to go, tickets were sold, whatnot. And then a month before the festival was supposed to happen last year, something happened with the permits, and the city kind of revoked the permits. Something happened and they had to kind of pivot really quickly. And Aubrey, I'm pretty sure, has connections with people at Meow Wolf in Vegas. And so the space was available, and they were like, you know what, like, kind of, we're going to trust the process here. Like, this is with that same thought of like, this is happening for a reason. And Arkadia in itself is like a very intentional festival to, like Leah said, to create a more beautiful world, recreate the story of humanity in a way to allow us to heal individually and collectively and heal the planet as a result of that. And so, through speakers and very intentional speakers and music and opportunities to connect and just all these little moments where you can gather people who are doing this work to play, to heal, to transform, to grow, to learn, all these things, we can go out into our communities afterwards and continue to spread that message. And so a lot of people decided not to go when the transition happened to Vegas last year. But for us and for the people who did show up, it was this deep inner knowing that like, this is happening for a bigger reason. And ultimately, what the message that was shared with us and the intention that we all held for Arkadia, that we continue to hold as it is still in Las Vegas, is that, it's easy to be light and love and embody this work and embody your truth out in nature in this beautiful environment that's not triggering and very conducive to that, that state of being, I guess. But can you still do that in one of the darkest places of this country? Las Vegas, Sin City, it's known for like having kind of this darker energy. And so it became a bigger mission of like, this isn't just for us. Like, we really say we want to rewrite and create a more beautiful world. Then like, okay, here you go. Like, can you do it here? And so even last year, we had several instances where we envisioned the light and kind of like visualized ourselves being this light and embodied it, and then spread it to like all of the festival. And then we kind of wrapped Las Vegas in this light. And it was so beautiful because we felt that like 1,000 people doing that at the same time. There was so much power in that and so much energy felt of just like, yeah, we're doing this work in the place where it's needed the most. Because if we can do it here, we can do it anywhere. So that was kind of why it happened there. But it was actually perfect in many ways because Meow Wolf is a whole vibe.
It's interesting.
It is such a portal. I kind of felt like we weren't even in Vegas, especially this year. Last year I stayed at the Rio, which was kind of wild to go from like such a spiritual container like right back into like this alternative universe. But this year it was like we had our Airbnb with all of our friends, and then we would just go to the venue and go back. And so to me, I was like, I kind of didn't even feel like I was in Vegas.
Yeah, I didn't feel like I was in Vegas either until I like looked outside and was like, oh, there's a lot of homeless people and weird things happening on the streets around us right now.
Wild.
But yeah, it was beautiful to be able to like drop back in with our group, with our space.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what a transformational journey that was. This year. I mean, I know it was last year too, but and to like for me, it felt like a massive portal. Like
it was
the whole time. It was like literally falling in portals.
Yeah, yeah.
Throughout the whole weekend,
it was insane. Yeah, I feel like it was the peak, like culmination of all the work we've been doing this whole year to show up at a place where you are just fully able to express yourself. There's no responsibilities, there's no masks. Everyone is just there authentically expressing and dancing and connecting. And like, I think, and the music and the entire environment is so conducive to just what you have been working through to be embodied and like felt. And, like we've talked a lot about how we saw each person in our group go through their own challenges and, their stuff coming up, but ultimately being in the perfect container to go right into it and release it, and the beauty and the power that came on the other side of people doing that and not being afraid to face whatever was coming up for them was so powerful. And we all had our own individual experiences within that. It's like we're still integrating and making sense of it all. But do you want to share a little bit of what you went through and what you experienced?
Yeah, I'm happy to. Something that I found really beautiful was, we were all going through our own experience, and every single person like stepped up to hold each other. And that was so beautiful to witness. Like at any point, if someone was moving through something, there was always someone right there with them. They were not alone. And I love seeing that, because you just, when you're in this kind of community, that aligned community that you find through really coming home to yourself, right? Like, you're always supported. And I would say that I deeply felt that this year, or the past weekend, and I'm still getting to know everyone. I met everyone, September? That's so wild. So it's like, I feel like there's this bridging the gap right now where it's like, I know that I know your energies, like our energies and spirits and souls know each other so well. And we're just like getting to know our personalities and like verbally like getting to know each other. Yeah. But
I love that too. Just real quick, like this is something that's come up several times that I love so much is the way that we're meeting people these days. It's like when you connect at a festival or on the dance floor or like just in a space where you're not like, hi, like sitting, at a coffee shop being like, tell me your life story and like, who are you on paper? It was more just like, no, I get to feel your essence and your energy, and we just get to vibe and meet there. And it's like, I see your soul and I know nothing about your backstory. And then afterwards you can fill me in with the stuff it's part of your story, but it's not as important as like who I know you are. And like that is usually the reverse when we meet people. And it's so cool because it's like, it feels so much more true,
Yeah, I would agree. And I feel like for me, I was served some medicine in that with Duff specifically, and just how that whole dynamic with Duff started and how it ended, but didn't end. It just shifted, right? And that was really beautiful to witness. But for me, like, there was a lot that came up for me at Arkadia. And, what came up first for me in that experience was actually around Duff. So Duff is this absolutely incredible human that I will, for sure, I think we both will have on our podcast at some point in time. So Duff is, how do you do such a great job describing him. I'm gonna leave this to you.
Like,
tell us about Duff.
If you're listening, Ben, we love you so much.
We love you so much, Ben. And we honor this in you. And it's the best part of you. One of the best parts of you.
I was in Greek life in college. And to me, my perspective is like he's almost like a fraternity bro meets like spiritual guru. Just like this super, and I love how authentically him he is.
So authentic. Just like, and he wears it well.
Yeah, and it's just like, dude, please never change because it's hilarious and so unique but like such a brilliant mind and such a sweet soul, and it's just so fun to be around.
Just such an amazing human.
I felt like when he came back to the Airbnb and like Thomas had known him from Unison, which also is just like such a small world, but of course.
So Duff and I connected on a dating app days before Arkadia. And I had actually seen Duff like 4 weeks prior at Dushanbe Tea House. And when I saw him, I was like, who is that human? Like, I was like, there was something about his energy that I was like, I need to know this person. But I didn't end up talking to him. And then connected with him on a dating app, like the day before Arkadia. And I was asking him, I was like, what are you excited for this week? And he was like, oh, I'm going to a festival. I was like, you don't say, like, Arkadia? Because I'm going to be there too. And so him and I planned to meet up the first night of Arkadia, which we did. And that was when he started like getting pulled into our group. And then turns out that Thomas, another friend in our group, already knew Duff. And so now there's multiple people that now know this person. And he just was like scooped up by the Tips and Toes community. And he stayed in our Airbnb like the whole week and joined us and just was such a beautiful addition. Yeah. But it was really interesting for me because at first, like, you know, we met on a dating app. So I was like, okay, like there was already kind of an expectation that came with that because of how we connected and met, which was interesting as well for me to like notice and note. And within the first 24 hours, just recognizing that we weren't on the same page with what we were seeking. And I got to step into my no. And I got to step into actually like, this is a no for me. I'm not going to seek this. And I'm going to cut that cord there and continue to be friendly with this person because he is an epic human. And yeah, and being able to like say no, it was able to open up another beautiful connection that I got to share that weekend. And had I not leaned into that no, that connection would not have flourished, which was so beautiful to be able to see and to witness. Really like what happens when you embody your no. And when you know that it's not that full yes, leaning into the no so that something can now exist in that space that is more in alignment with what is a full yes. And by saying no, you teach the universe. You teach the universe what you're not here for. And so the no was the first thing that came up for me at Arkadia. And then just like really embodying the play. And that was so much fun. Yeah, and so for me it was the third night that like I went through the deepest transformation of I think the whole weekend, and you were there for it, and like I'm literally like it would not have happened had one I not like come up to you and like expressed that I was like moving through a lot of heaviness, and you just like stood there with me on the dance floor and just like communicated all these things that I already knew to me, right? My strength and my power and my beauty and just helping me recenter and reconnect with my heart. But I was having such a difficult time like embodying it. I was like, yes, I know. And I looked at you and I said to you, also we should add that there were psychedelics on board this weekend. There were the psychedelics involved. Yeah. And you know, plant medicine always shows you what you are ready to transmute. And you get the choice to step into that and transmute it or to not. And it can be challenging. But I looked at you and I said, I think I said something along the lines of, I know, and I'm having a really difficult time like embodying it. I need to look at myself in the mirror. Yeah, you just said, I really think I need to look at myself in the mirror right now. And I was like, okay, let's go. Let's go to the bathroom. You grabbed my hand and you just like beelined to the bathroom with me and threw me in front of the mirror. And the first thing you do is you turn around in the women's bathroom and you say, can all of you ladies please tell my friend how beautiful and powerful she is? And I had like 15 women come up to me and just compliment me, and like, that was such a beautiful moment. Oh my God, it was incredible. Yeah. It was so unexpected. Yeah. It's so beautiful to show too, like how vulnerability and asking for support and just like most of us are ready to support each other and want to play that role of like helping and supporting and like reminding you of your beauty, but it requires a little bit of vulnerability and risk, like stepping up and asking for it, and like, you know, but everyone was just like, yeah, like, oh, they were so in it, and it was so beautiful to see like sisters coming together, like complete strangers, people I didn't know. Yeah. And I got to stand there and look at myself in the mirror as all these women expressed these things to me that I'm getting chills. Yeah. And in that process, I witnessed myself turn into this like dragon warrior goddess. And I got to see and like feel into the power in a soft way, which was a new way that I had been able to experience that, because there's been so much shift happening in my world lately. And it was almost like I needed to embody all of that new shift in my energy, in knowing that I can take any amount of heaviness and transmute it into something beautiful. And that's like the whole theme of the weekend, but it really hit deep for me. And, you know, because of you, because of the women in that bathroom, because of my willingness to look deeply at myself, I was able to connect with that. And I was able to embody that. And it was so beautiful, like what that moment did for me throughout the whole weekend.
How did you feel walking out of there? Like, how'd the rest unfold for you?
I felt grounded in my power. I felt grounded in my feminine. I felt connected with like my all-knowing. Like, this is who I am, and this is how I get to show up, and I will be received in that by the right people. And I knew that our people were going to receive me in that, which was beautiful to know. And that opened the door to the beautiful connection that I got to share with one of the individuals there at Arkadia. And it allowed me to actually allow myself to be fully seen in my feminine, and to be fully received in that like softened alpha that I hold. And it deeply allowed me to connect with my feminine. And after that, I had a couple of different people approach me and compliment me on different things. One of my friends came up to me. I hadn't seen him since the beginning of the year, and he told me how beautiful it was to see me so much in my feminine. And then I had another random person come up to me and tell me how beautifully fit I was, and just like this random person on the dance floor. And then I got to drop in and have this really beautiful conversation that really allowed me to witness this person witnessing me in like all of me, in all of my power, and all of my strength, and all of my feminine, and all of my service, like in all of it. And it was that moment in the mirror that was the opening of the door to that, which was so cool. And I think the following day I walked into the bathroom and I was telling some girl, I don't even know how we got on it, but I was telling some girl about how powerful the women's bathroom is. Yeah. And started talking about this experience that I had looking in the mirror. And she goes, "Oh, I know. I was there."
Yes.
And I was just like, okay, cool. Love that. There are like all these synchronicities that happen at Arkadia that like don't actually make sense, but make full, complete sense at the same time. So yeah, I would say that's like a big part of what I sat with at Arkadia, and just like really connecting with where I am and what I'm creating, and how all that creation starts within me. And even if it's heavy, and even if it's dark, and even if it's unpleasant, that I can take that and I can create with it. Yeah. And that was some of the big powerful lessons for me, and like your grounded presence was such a huge part of that. Like so much, that moment where you're like, oh, this is why that girl's my sister.
Oh, it was such a knowing. You said it like perfectly though, how I experienced it too. It was like a remembrance of like my like gentle but like powerful alpha leader energy, feminine like embodiment. And I think it's so beautiful how I just had this like thought come up while you were talking about how do I explain this? Like the way that we are feeling about ourselves is how other people interpret us too. And we try to hide it, but it's still received energetically. Even no matter what you say or how you look or what mask you put on, when people are able to see you, like they see you for how you are kind of feeling. And so that's why like nothing happened externally. I mean, yeah, maybe you were like standing straight or whatever body language, but like on an energetic level, the way that you saw yourself was then reflected in everyone around you, like seeing you that way. And that's exactly how I felt too. So I had a very similar experience, but different. For me, my kind of breakthrough happened on the first night. So because I went to Arkadia last year, I tried not to have expectations, but I definitely had expectations going into it. I wanted it to be the same the same as it was last year because it was so transformational for me last year. And I had invited in so many people, like so many people had come, and I had told them exactly like what it was for me and how powerful and the intentionality and like all the little details. And so a big part of I don't want to say pattern in a bad way, but like I love to share experiences with people because I want them to experience like the depth that I experience and the beauty that I experience. And so bringing people into the community is like a huge, like I love that feeling. And bringing people to like a sacred space like Arkadia that I just, was so powerful for my journey. Anyway, getting there the first day, I immediately noticed like, oh, it's not the same. And, you know, after going through the weekend, I'm like, wow, it was exactly the way it was supposed to be. And it was magical and transformational in so many ways. But it wasn't the same experience as I had last year. And at first, I was very resistant to that. My ego was like, oh my gosh, it's not going to be as good. It's not going to be as powerful. Like, just resisting what it was instead of just embracing it and allowing the unknown to unfold and trusting in the process, right?
That was a huge, we'll come back to that.
So I was like really struggling with that and just like in my head about it. And then also like, you know, at festivals, it's like the first night is a little bit of like, you know, by the end, everyone's one and everyone's in the vibe and everyone's had this beautiful experience and everyone's on the same energy. But day one, everyone's getting there from different places, bringing their stuff, like in their own heads, like not sure what this is going to be or where they fit in, or like it's kind of like a commingling of energies that's a little bit chaotic at first.
You're like tiptoeing into the vortex.
Yeah, and everyone's like, oh, who am I? What is this? What are we doing? Like just... Ugh. And I just am such an empath that I could feel all of that, including my own stuff. Mm-hmm. And I was really struggling to be in the moment and to really let go and just dance. And like I was just constantly like looking around me and like thinking like just over analyzing everything. And so I was really just tense and annoyed and just not in it. And I just had this like, I don't know if you want to call it my higher self or something, like take over me and just be like I just started walking out of the portal, the main room, and I didn't even know like what the intention was or where I was going, but I went and immediately I just knew like you need to sit down here and meditate. And this is like in the middle of the music and the festival, everyone's moving around and like walking through and the music is playing super loud. And I was like, oh gosh, you know, one of my patterns is like just being very self-conscious of like, what do people think? And like, I don't want to look weird and whatever. Judgment from other people has been a big thing. And so I was so resistant to just sitting down and meditating in the middle of the chaos, but I knew I had to. It almost felt like I didn't have a choice. Like I was just like being forced to sit down, and I was like, oh, okay, fine. And I closed my eyes, and you know, I was also on some medicines as well. So that definitely deepened the experience. But I sat down and I like closed my eyes and I went into my meditation, and the first, I don't know how long, like was really hard. Like I kept hearing other people walk by me and like thinking and just not able to drop in. But I was like push through. Like luckily I have a meditation practice, so I know it's like right after that discomfort where it gets good. And so I sat with myself and I had this whole insane revelation and just spiritual experience that I'm still trying to make sense of basically the phrase that kept coming through was come back to yourself, come back to yourself, come back to yourself, come back to yourself. And my podcast is called Home to Self. It's been this message that's come through, but I haven't fully had an experience to ground it. And this was kind of it, where I just realized like, no matter what is going on around you, or, you know, other people's energies or the music, or you not knowing what this experience is going to be, you always have the power to come back to yourself, your truth, which is like this grounded, powerful, just like go with the flow. Like everything's good. Like it's okay. Like you've got yourself, you can create that safety, that knowing, that like power, that beauty, that love, that okayness. It's in you, but it requires you to like actually put in the work to reconnect to that, instead of putting all your energy on everything outside of you. Like bring it home. And I just had this like fucking like visceral embodiment of that. And the moment that I like accepted that and surrendered the control and the resistance and like whatever it was supposed to be, I literally felt my energy just go whoo, and it felt like I like landed in my body, and I just felt so light in my body. It felt like this, it was wild. And it was just like this like knowing like, okay, I'm back and like this is me. And then I got up and actually the way that it ended is then I like felt my heart beating, right? And it was beating like really calm and like very like steady. And I just felt super grounded. And then I like visualized the world started, I like zoomed out and could see the entire world beating to the rhythm of my heart. And I realized in that moment that when I come back to myself and I am deeply connected to my inner knowing and my inner calm and my peace, the world reflects that, at least through my experience. And when I am in like anxious and tense and hypervigilant and in control and like disconnected, that's what I see all around me. So it was this beautiful like zooming out of like as within so without, micro macro knowledge. And I was like, wow. So I got up and I walked back into the dance floor, and even the way that I was walking, the way that I was feeling, the way that I was just like, it was just this like super grounded energy of just like soft power, like this like gentle, open power where it's like I don't even have to say anything, but it's felt. And I saw that all around me, and I felt like people reflected that to me. And it kind of lasted throughout the whole weekend. There was moments when I would like fall back into old patterns, but I had the visceral remembrance of how to come back and could like pull myself back into that. And because of that safety that I felt like I was embodying of like self-acceptance and therefore accepting others, I felt like I had so many one-on-one experiences with people where I was able to offer a safe space to help them move through whatever they moved through. Like I had several experiences, and it was so beautiful because that's the leadership role that I see myself as, like that's my potential. And I was able to embody it without really, not needing another certification or another training or another like thing. It was just my essence. So it was a huge moment of realization for me. And on that same theme, twice on the dance floor, I had this experience where I closed my eyes and I was like, oh, this is why people wear sunglasses at festivals. Our friend Christy always says, yeah, I just feel safe when I have my glasses on, like on medicines at festivals. And I just totally understood that because I was closing my eyes because I just wanted to be in my own experience and not influenced by the world around me. But I also felt like it was weird to have your eyes closed for like an hour at a time. And so I put Austin's glasses on the first night, Just Like You Imagined set, which was amazing. And I like visualized myself being the only one on that dance floor with the DJ. And it gave me such freedom to just like express as the music, like as I truly felt the music and like as my body wanted to move and not influenced by anything around me, which was such a powerful experience. And I just had this like deep connection to my intuition, like Austin asking me, do you want to come to Meow Wolf? We're all going. And immediately I was like, no, I'm good. Like, you guys have fun.
Yeah.
I usually have a difficult time deciding. And so, yeah, all in all, to wrap it up, I just very much like you embodied that internal knowing where it's like, I don't need to tell people I'm powerful. I just get to embody my power.
Yeah.
And it's a feminine power of softness and like, yeah. It's hard to explain in words, but I'm so grateful that you understand the feeling too.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. So
it's funny too, because like you and I hadn't shared a whole lot. I think I shared a little bit more with you than you had with me around your experience. And just felt really called the other day to like send you a message on Instagram and just like really expressing how much I witnessed you like really ground into yourself, like really in the groundedness and like flow and be in that space. And it was so beautiful to witness you there. And then like hearing your reflections today, being like, oh, okay, now I understand why I was called to say that. Right? Because it's and that's when I think one of the most beautiful gifts of deep sisterhood is being able to see your sister in her process. Yeah. And not needing to, right, it's that nonverbal communication that we were talking about around, you don't need to tell me I see you.
Yes. Yeah. And it takes seeing yourself and accepting yourself to be able to truly meet someone there. And I feel like we really were able to do that this weekend. We were in the right container, right mindset, right things, and like to be in sisterhood. I mean, the whole sisterhood wound has been such a thing for my whole life, but
for majority of women.
Yeah, it's just, but it's so nice now within our friendship and just our community with the other women in our group, how it's not a competition.
No.
You know, and even especially like for me and you who are in a very similar field of work, and it can be hard out there, you know, it's like but even with that, it has never felt like a competition. And it's felt like such a, we get to rise together. All boats rise with the tide kind of thing. And that is such a felt experience, and it allows us both to soften. Yeah. I think we and the entire community plays a role in our feeling safe enough to soften.
Yeah. I think that is, in my opinion, what is to be sought in connection, is that safety that actually allows you to soften. Whether you're a male, whether you're a female, whatever gender you identify with, being able to be in connections that bring so much safety, that you can soften, that you can take off your armor, that you can allow the walls that you've put around your heart to come down, that you can opt out of the irrational reactions playing through story and through past experience, and to reprogram, to rewrite, to opt into a different experience. And that comes through safety. That comes through being so safe that you can allow all that to be shed.
Yeah. And it's kind of a co-creation, I feel, because it's a safety that you feel in the body. It's not even like, it doesn't really need to be expressed mentally, but it's just like my body, my nervous system feels safe around this person. And that's kind of how you can start to tap into that. But I think the other part of it too is like starting to build that trust is like a little bit at a time. If you do feel that sense of safety, it's like, can you open up a little bit more? Can you allow yourself to be seen a little bit more? And when that's met with so much compassion and love and support and vulnerability on the other person's side, it's like, okay, now you have another whole amount of safety and trust there, you know, and it just like keeps expanding. But the whole like letting your walls down and like being seen in your imperfections is like, I mean, that's been like, I think that's like a huge part of this like home to self, coming back to yourself theme of like, you don't need to pretend like you're okay all the time. And actually, you know, the feelings, we want to belong, we want to feel seen, we want to be heard and loved for who we really are, but that requires us to put our walls down and be real. And like in moments of like deep, you know, like when you came up to me at the festival and you're just like, I don't feel right, I feel heavy, this is like hitting me weird, like that is like a step of like, thank you. Like it's actually a gift to me because you're telling me indirectly that you trust me to see you in that. And like that's so fucking beautiful. And I feel like we're all learning that right now in some way. And yeah, I just hope that helps people too realize that like what we want is connection, but connection actually happens through like authenticity, which isn't always sunshine and rainbows.
And vulnerability.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not always gonna feel good to actually be seen with your walls down.
No, it's scary.
It's terrifying so scary. Sometimes.
It's like, shit, are they still gonna love me if they see this part of me? But that's a good point too. It's like, it's a part of you. It's not who you are. And that's why it's okay to like create a little bit of separation and be like, there's a part of me right now that feels really scared or feels really uncomfortable. And like, can you at least meet me there and like hold space for me because I feel alone in this. And just even expressing it is like a weight off your shoulders.
Yeah. Yeah, I know for me, like with our community, I've experienced a lot of that in expression through my voice. The first time at Unison, I had an opportunity to share one of my songs that I had written at the end of our hape ceremony, our beautiful hape ceremony that our whole group had together. That I think was the most powerful hape ceremony I've ever sat in, but I digress. I had the opportunity to step into vulnerability and to share my music. And it was received so beautifully by everyone. And then fast forward to Arkadia, I expressed to Thomas that I've just had this deep call to have a drum in my hand. And that like there's something that needs to come through me with the drum. And he's like, oh, I got a drum in my van. I'm like, of course you have a drum in your van.
He's the guy.
So I remember we're all sitting by the pool and like I'm having a conversation with Angela and like talking her ear off about something. And he just comes up and starts like banging the drum in front of me. And I was like, that's one way to get me to quiet down. quiet my Leo self. But yeah, but being received in the authenticity and vulnerability that I did through my voice at Unison allowed me to step into doing that same thing at Arkadia, but to the next level. So I actually sang a song, something that I completely made up on the spot. I allowed it to like channel through me. And I've never done that before. Aside from the one time that I was talking to you about earlier where Zion handed a microphone to me and was like, it's your turn to rap. That was the first time that like she pulled this voice out of me. I was like, oh, it's here. I'm definitely not a rapper. For sure not. But yeah, to be able to like continue to step into this space of vulnerability where you continue to take your walls down and where you are received, it allows you to really go deeper within yourself and get to know yourself. And yeah, that's just something that's been really powerful that I've gotten to experience within the group and like a direct example, I guess I'll say, of how I've continued to feel safe enough to allow myself to keep taking down those walls and keep exploring deeper parts of myself while being witnessed.
Yeah. And I expressed that too after Arkadia, like even just knowing you for, what are we, November? So like
2 months.
Crazy. But yeah, I feel like even in the 2 months that I've known you, like I have felt the softness that has been embodied. And that takes a lot because it's like you don't harden for and I've been through that process and I still am going through that process, but it's like we don't harden on purpose. It's because we've been hurt and because it's armor. It's like this is how we need to move through the world because we've experienced pain in the past by softening. And so to witness that actually transform and for you to like step into that softness is like, it's crazy how much more powerful someone is in their softness. And it's just been, I've seen it and I've felt it from you, and it's like, it's so beautiful because we mirror each other too. So it's like we're doing this at the same time.
Yeah, we are. I see that.
It's so cool. But I'll reflect also that I didn't even know that you had never sang like that in front of a group. I didn't know that till now. And I wouldn't have guessed that. Like, I thought it was like natural for you. But it was so beautiful because everyone was just like, and like Angela was laying over there meditating. Everyone was just like,
is in the pool. Like,
oh yeah, he was like floating there in the pool. I was massaging Austin, and we were all just like kind of like decompressing and just like being able to tap into that and receiving. But it's super inspiring to me because I've had little thoughts of like, ooh, my voice has been very like constricted in that sense, especially when it comes to singing. I'm like, I wouldn't even dare. And so just like watching you is like, it's inspiring for people who also feel like that might be something they want to explore at some point, but haven't had the courage to yet. And that's such a beautiful example of like our community in general. Everyone's stepping into like just openly like stepping into their power and being vulnerable enough to like try something for the first time, and because it's received so well and because of their courage, everyone else is like inspired to step into their version of that. It's like, it's like, oh, we were never meant to do this alone. It's so much easier with other people. And like, just
I appreciate that reflection. And I mean, as much as I've been on my journey in the last 2 months, like being able to witness you and in the same, like, and softening yourself and softening into like just trusting yourself in that grounded space, you know, and witnessing the way that you did get to show up for so many of us at Arkadia was so beautiful. And I think you make such a good point, is like we get to be mirrors and reflections to one another, and what is simultaneously happening in you is happening in another at the same time. And it may be through a different lens or in a slightly different way, but you know, we are in many ways the same. Right. And you know, I remember I used to be in a space in my life where I was like, you just don't understand, you just don't get it, like you just can't ever get it, right? Like to anyone.
To like others?
To other people. Right? It's like no one else will understand me. Like you can't be there. And it's like, well, like people understand given their own experience. And people understand based off of what's happened to them in their past. No one's journey ever looks identical. It's not supposed to. It's never going to happen. But the fact that it doesn't look identical actually gives an opportunity for both parties to look through a different lens at the same theme or at the same aspect.
And the feelings might be mutual. You know, like, your actual experience may be unique to you and like what actually unfolded, but the feelings are mutual. Feelings of loneliness and like insecurity and like doubt and shame, and those are universal. And so you being vulnerable enough to share that experience allows another person to like it like almost triggers that person's feelings that they haven't felt safe enough to share. And this is such a beautiful also moment to say that this is why mentorship and coaching is so powerful, because that's what we're doing essentially, is mirroring someone else so that they can see themselves. And so they can feel safe enough through our grounded presence and we've been there too, and we're not afraid to talk about it. That immediately allows another person to soften and feel okay with their experience.
To go deeper, to look through those other lenses and perspectives, to heal areas that may have been like sitting in the darkness, allow them to bring light to those places. And like you said earlier, integrate each part of them, right? Give each part of them love and acceptance and compassion and welcome all of those parts. But I agree. For me, I would not be where I am without coaching. For me, I would not be where I am without mentors, without sisters, without community to reflect back to me, to be that mirror. And, you know, it's not telling someone what to do. It's a matter of reflecting back to them where they're at. And allowing them to decide, hey, is this actually what you do want to do?
You're guiding them back to themselves, really, so they can make those yes and no decisions, so they can decide what feels good, what doesn't, so they can, it's a reconnection to yourself so you can better navigate this life. And you can do it on your own, but like it is just so much the same way that we are growing, like it's quantum growth within the community because we're all willing to reflect back to each other lovingly and hold space for each other and inspire each other. It's the same thing, you know, within the one-on-one and or group or whatever. And so overall I sit here in so much gratitude for the life that we are living, and I know it's not a coincidence because we have put in the work and we continue to, and it's never over. And you know, but if anything is a testament to this work, it's the life that we're living now, you know, and just the feelings that come of safety, of love, these experiences like Arkadia that we get to have, that we feel drawn to, that we feel ready for. It's because we decided to look inwards and heal and do the work, which oftentimes a lot of it starts on your own. But eventually you look around and you're like, wow, my life has completely shifted as a result of me going within.
Completely. Yeah. And then you get the opportunity to, I love the word you used, like inspire, right? To be inspired by your community. And your community gets to be that mirror, gets to help you go deeper and open.
Yeah.
And be vulnerable and to love more and to connect more and to be with all the more. And I think that's a big thing that Arkadia really offers, is helping each one of us independently, like be with the more, be with what more we can experience, what more we can have, what more we can receive, what more we can step into, so that we can continue to be that mirror for the world around us to also see what more is possible for them.
Yeah, it's a beautiful container for remembering and not settling for the mundane that we've been taught is like all there is. It's like, no, you get to experience the whole full spectrum, of this human experience if you want to, and play through it, and enjoy it, because like, what's the point? Why are we working so hard if we're not going to enjoy and play and let loose a little bit? In closing, I want to mention that we are going to start stepping into some collaborations and probably retreats, sisterhood events. It's just throwing it out there, planting some seeds. That was also something that came through very, very strongly.
Very strongly, Arkadia.
Yeah, I remember us just looking at each other and being like, it's time. It's time.
Yeah, and the other thing too that was such a deep catalyst, I think, into that moment of us being like, it's time. So we had multiple moments that really stemmed from that heaviness that I was moving through on the dance floor, and you looked at me and you said, surrender, trust the process. And there were multiple times throughout that whole weekend that you and I would reconnect, and we'd be so face to face, and we'd just sing like, surrender, trust the process.
It's hilarious how often now I'm just like sitting in discomfort, or like a moment when I'm trying to control something, or I don't want things to be how they are. I think they should be different. And that just comes to me. I'm like, trust the process. And I'm just like instantly let go. Because I'm like, yes, whatever the heck you're going through, just trust the process. It's there for a reason. And in hindsight, we're always like, oh yeah, I get why I had to go through that.
But in the moment, if you try to figure it out, you're just, it's not
you're
gonna
making
be.
It worse. Yeah. And so I loved that because it was so applicable every single time. Like just spot on. We were like, we looked at each other and we were just like,
every time.
The process.
Every time. Yeah. And that's really what allowed us to really step into like, it's time. Yeah. We've been toying around with it, like back and forth a little here and there. But
there's a reason we were in each other's space. There's a reason for all of it. And I mean, we keep talking about, wanting more from sisterhood. I mean, we have a good amount of it, but like, Austin, even my husband, is in 3 men's groups at the moment that have just like randomly popped up that are really powerful. There's something to be said about being in community with all genders, and then also like with just women and just men. I think it's necessary and really powerful. And so we want to create more containers like that, and it's time to just step up and do it, and just start. Be vulnerable and just start. And so, if you're listening to this and if you're interested in this work and wanting to go deeper, like just keep an eye out.
Keep an eye out. Reach out to us. We will let you know and keep you updated on what is coming and what we're creating to hold space for you and for you to be welcomed in our field, with the intention of helping you go deeper into yourself. So that you can continue to step into leading as an example for the world around you and being a part of making this world a more beautiful place. So with that being said, I know we're going to post this on both of our podcasts. So Lily, what is your social media? Where can people find you?
Yeah, so I'm at Lilly M. Terry. That's Lilly Mterry. And then the podcast is called Home to Self.
Beautiful. So, and for me, I am at Mind Body with Leah, and you can find me at leahdrew.com. I'll take you to the same spot.
And name your podcast.
My podcast is the Mindful Evolution Podcast.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be easy to find each other because we're tagged in literally everything together.
Well, thank you guys for being here, Lily. Thank you for being here. I appreciate your vulnerability and your openness and your reflection always. And it's been beautiful connecting with you and beautiful continuing to deepen our connection as sisters.
To think it's only been 2 months. Where are we gonna be in 5 years?
Yeah, literally. I'm like,
oh yeah, so excited.
The power of sisterhood.
Truly. So I see you and I love you, and I'm so honored to be walking this path with you, and excited for the magic we're gonna create together, because we're so much more powerful together.
So much more powerful together, and I feel like this podcast is a beautiful example of that.
I know. I'm like, gosh, let's just do all our episodes together.
I see you. Yeah, right? I see you, and I love you too, and excited for what is to come.
Aho.
Aho. Thank you guys. We love you.
Much love.
Thank you so much for tuning in with me today and for continuing to opt in to your inner work. If you found value in this conversation, please share it on social media or with someone you know that values both healing and growth. And I'd also like to invite you to join the Holistic Healing Tribe. This is my private community full of self-healers who are on a mission to optimize their physical, mental, and emotional well-being. Click the link in the show notes to join the tribe. And when you join, I'll send you my favorite things that have made the biggest impact on my health, my healing, and my growth. And finally, if you're anything like me and deeply care about seeing a more mindful approach to human evolution, please leave a review to help us reach more listeners and make a bigger impact on the world around you.